Welcome to this new segment on my channel called Read a Book. And before you ask, I didn't come up with this idea. I'm kind of stealing it from another YouTuber called Geekvolution. If you don't know who they are, Geekvolution is run by this guy named Captain Logan, and he used to do this show called the Omnibus, and him and this guy Eric would do reviews, their pickups, all in one go. And one of the segments they would do is called Read a Book. And I don't really remember exactly what books they read during that. I'm sure they did. I know they reviewed the Batman 89 script that was by Sam Hamm prior to the film. But besides that, I don't remember too much of Read a Book. But I just love that name. So Captain Logan, if you watch this, I'm going to steal that. If you have a problem, you can contact me. But I'm going to talk about 3 books. 1 book I finished, 2 books that I'm reading. The first book I finished was Star Wars Dark Force Rising. This is the second book in the Thrawn Trilogy by Timothy Zahn. And this was a really fun read. I'm going to do a review on the Thrawn Trilogy when I'm done, so I don't want to talk too much about it, but a little bit is I really love Zahn's prose. It's not going to sound like a compliment, but it's all very straightforward. You know, it's I don't know how else to put it. It's not too metaphorical. You know, this does feel like old school, like pulp fiction, you know, 30s fiction, 30s sci-fi fiction. Yeah, it's a lot longer than that, but you know, it's easy to read. You know, when you pick up and read this book, it's not going to be that hard. And second, I love Zahn's voice for the characters, especially Han Solo and Lando. Like, he's got those guys down. I know he has a book called Scoundrels that is all about them. So I one day I'm going to pick that up. But speaking with this book specifically, I do have a problem with the whole Zahn trilogy in the whole, and I'm not going to get too much into it now. It's just each individual book is not satisfying, and for me that's an issue because I like complete stories, and I know all 3 of them is a complete story, right? But using Star Wars as an example, you know, you can watch New Hope and find enjoyment. You can watch Empire, and yes, Empire is a cliffhanger for Returns, but you find enjoyment by just watching Empire. These books, if you read, in my humble opinion, Heir to the Empire by itself, you're like, oh, here's the best Star Wars book, Heir to the Empire. You will not be satisfied. That was my opinion. Maybe that's my hot take. It's not satisfying. I did find this one a little better. I forgot. Go back to the writing. Thrawn is amazing. He is basically reading the story that is being told. He knows everything. It's pretty nice. I really like Thrawn. But yeah, these books individually are not satisfying. It is a 1,300 page novel split into 3 parts. And again, I may be called like, you know, an idiot for saying that. Like, oh, it's a trilogy, of course that's it. But you know, I like individual. I like, you know, one-off stories. You know, singular novels, standalone. They're not even standalone. They're just books. They're just stories, not standalone. But yeah, I read this. Book, yeah. So I'm proud of myself. Good job, me. Yay. I read this book. I haven't started reading The Last Command. I have it. It's over there. But hopefully in October I'll start reading that. But yeah, this book I finished. It was good. Yeah. Have you read Dark Force Rising, and do you think I'm wrong about the Thrawn Trilogy? Let me know down below. And then the 2 books I am reading right now, if you watch my pickups video, I already stated this, but Thomas, I did the same thing. Thomas Pynchon's Inherent Vice and Miss Lonelyhearts by Nathanael West. This is Inherent Vice is, there's a movie about it. Joaquin Phoenix, P.T. Anderson. The movie's controversial. The book is good so far. I am about, I'll tell you exactly how far. I'm on chapter 9, 124. And I like it a lot. Doc Sportello is a Raymond Chandler type of character, but, with a twist that he's a stoner, right? And you would think that would get super annoying, but as right now, it doesn't. And he's kind of endearing because, it kind of talks about his old life and his, and how it changed to this hippie lifestyle. And just the whole, the whole Los Angeles scenes with hippies, I find that hippie culture fascinating because a lot of hippies turn into, the business people, and they go extreme into the business side. And that's what I learned from Grant Morrison in the Zenith comic. There's a hippie character in that was a super hippie, and then he becomes a super conservative. And that came out in the 80s, right? I think 87, around that time. But yeah, this is a hard-boiled without the hard part. It's a, conspiracy, detective, all that stuff. Raymond Chandler, but with stoners. And I know for the film, and I'm pretty sure with this book as well, the Robert Altman version of The Long Goodbye is an inspiration for this. I know the movie is. The movie is definitely inspired by The Long Goodbye. And I think this is as well. It would have to be, and not the book itself, but the Robert Altman version, which, if you haven't seen The Long Goodbye, starring Elliot Gould, I think it came out in 1973. Fantastic film. Fantastic film. I did a review on Yokohama BJ Blues, which is a loose remake of that. So yeah, this is a whole thing. The Long Goodbye is going to be a review I do someday. I don't know when, but someday. But this is really good so far. The prose, it gets a little psychedelic at times, and Miranda's, rambles a lot. But if you stick with it, I'm sure it's going to be good. And then the total opposite, the opposite direction, is Miss Lonelyhearts. This is, it's considered a novel, but I don't think, it may be a novella. This book is so good. So good, so mature, so powerful. I'm going to think of more words to describe it without telling you what's actually in it. But this is actually a pretty hard book to describe. It's about this guy who all we know is called Miss Lonelyhearts, and he's basically depressed, living in the 1930s. He wants to be a man of God, but he's in a world of sin. I don't want to get into political religious on this, but he's very much like that Travis Bickle type of character. More movie references than read a book. But yeah, the prose are so clean, and Nathanael West is just showing you he knows how to write. This dude is a writer, and this book came out in 1933, and it's still relevant today, and it's still considered a masterpiece today. It may be not PC, maybe not politically correct at times, but it's a raw book, right? That first chapter, where Miss Lonelyhearts is reading his letter. So Miss Lonelyheart does a column, and the column is these women and men sometimes write in about their problems. and these problems are, deep, right? Really, really deep problems. Like, I need an abortion, I get beaten, or stuff like that, right? Just go to your local Barnes and Noble and just read that first chapter. It's only a few pages, and you'll see how heartbreaking it is. And this guy, you understand immediately why he is the way he is after reading that first chapter, because if you are being bombarded every single day with these letters of depression and these people who just need some help, and they don't get this help because all you're going to write is some BS answer. And you can't do anything about it, but they think you can. It's depressing just thinking about it. And at the same time, the villain of the story is this guy called Shriek. And Shriek is essentially like the devil, right? He's the devil on Mrs. Lonelyheart's shoulder. But there's no angel, right? The angel is just like God, right? Like God's already given him the answers. Live life this way. You will be happy for it. Here's the 10 Commandments. Thou shalt not commit adultery. But he does it anyway. This is a really good book. Yeah, that's one reason why, it's such a small book. I could finish it already, but once it's done, it's done. And Nathanael West didn't write so many books because he died fairly young. He has another book that I really want to read called The Day of the Locusts. And that's about Hollywood in the 30s. Yeah, this is a really good book. But yeah, I know I forgot to tell you who I am. So I'm Jack from Manelli Studio Entertainment. If you enjoyed this new segment of mine, read a book, subscribe. I do a lot more stuff, film reviews, collection updates, collections. I love all pop culture. I love art in general. And Captain Logan, if you see this video, read the book, and you want to, take it back, just let me know, and I might do it. But anyway, this is Jack signing off saying, read a book or 3. Bye.